Hey there, it's my goal today to surprise you or at the very least really intrigue you. If you've been a watcher of this channel for very long at all, you've probably heard me say more than once that Cape Coral is by far the best bang for your buck in the entire state of Florida for waterfront real estate, and really specifically Gulf access real estate. We've got over 400 miles of navigable waterways here in the city of Cape Coral, and most of those are Gulf access canals. And when I say Gulf access, I just mean boating access out to the Gulf of America. And so in today's video, we're going to be breaking down some numbers. I'm going to actually show you what the average Gulf access home price looks like here in the city of Cape Coral, and then we're going to compare that to what that same number buys in a lot of the other areas that we have here in Southwest Florida. We're going to kind of compare it to Fort Myers Gulf access properties. We're going to compare Cape Coral to Bonita Springs and ESTERO Gulf access properties, and we're even going to compare Naples Gulf access properties to the same types of properties that you can buy right here in the city of Cape Coral. And I'm telling you, I've been doing this for 20 years and I haven't really sat down and looked at the statistics, but even just pulling these numbers for this video really shocked me. So I think it'll surprise you as well. But before we get into that, if you're not familiar with this channel, my name is Dustin Guthrie. I'm a longtime resident of Southwest Florida and Cape Coral, and I've been a full-time real estate broker here in Cape Coral for almost 20 years now. I do one of these videos every single week on this channel where I just give you some really good, useful information. Sometimes we're looking at some really cool real estate. Sometimes we're just looking at some fun, good things that are coming to the area, maybe some news or some new projects or something like that. So I want to invite you, if you are interested in Southwest Florida, maybe you're considering moving to Cape Coral or moving to Fort Myers or Punta Gorda or something, go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you can be around for these videos every single week. Again, just try to give you a lot of really great, useful information. I'm really applying for a job because I'd like to be your realtor when the time does come and you do need a realtor here anywhere in Southwest Florida. If you're buying or if you're selling a property, I would love to be your realtor. And of course, my contact information is right there on the screen. And you can call, text, or email me anytime. I would love to hear from you and hear about your real estate goals and tell you how I can help you out with that. So with that spiel out of the way, let's get into this really interesting topic today. We're going to start off and I'm going to give you some just raw statistics on Gulf access waterfront real estate here in the city of Cape Coral, and then we'll start to break that down and compare it to some of these other areas here in Southwest Florida. But let's start off with just some Cape Coral statistics. All right, so let's break down some numbers for Cape Coral as it pertains to Gulf access real estate. Again, we've got so much Gulf access real estate in the city of Cape Coral, and I really think that's why it is by far the best bang for your buck for Gulf access, specifically homes really in the entire state of Florida. So let's break down what the last 6 months have looked like for Gulf access homes. We've had 498 Gulf access homes sell in the last 6 months here in the city of Cape Coral. As you can imagine, most of those sell in the winter and spring months when our snowbirds are down here. This is a favorite category of real estate for those snowbirds. But nevertheless, those 498 sales range all the way from down to $250,000. And actually, if you've watched some of these videos, you probably saw that $250,000 house because it was one of ours here at Schooner Bay Realty. It was a foreclosure property that was gutted on the inside. If you recall, I think it was listed for $225,000 and it ended up selling for $250,000. But that was the lowest Gulf access home sale for the last 6 months. And it was featured on one of these videos not too long ago. But that lowest Gulf access home sale, $250,000, all the way up to $3.999 million, and I covered that on one of the monthly market reports as well, almost $4 million. So we've got a pretty broad range of Gulf access home values here in the city of Cape Coral. Now, just on average, if you averaged out all of those sales, the average price was about $852,957, just under $853,000. But I think the more accurate number to look at in these situations is the median price. So if you lined them all up from all the way starting at $250,000 all the way up to that almost $4 million, the one right in the middle was $707,500. So that $707,500 is kind of the baseline that we're going to be operating on as we get into some of these other things. But let me just start real quick by showing you a property that roughly $710,000 price point looks like. Let's take a look at this property right here. So here's a pretty solid example, again, in that 700s. I think we can negotiate a little bit, so we're going to look at a property that's currently listed right now for $750,000. This is in the southwest section of Cape Coral. It's down there. It's actually in a neighborhood called the 8 Lakes. So these are 8. They look like kind of little 4-leaf clovers there. They're actually saltwater lakes there in the southwest. It's a dynamite area. This is in one of the more northern lakes, so this is a little bit further to open water, maybe 40-45 minutes. But this property has only been on the market for 3 weeks. It's at $750,000. A 3-bedroom, 2 and 1/2 baths, built in 1990, just over 2,500 square feet of living area. And again, I think one of the big draws of value here is those big giant lake water views there behind the pool. It does have a nice pool. It's got a newer dock out back with a boat lift, so it's got some really nice stuff. The roof there, the shingle roof's only a couple of years old, and they've redone the kitchen inside. So really solid piece of property, and again at $750,000, assuming you can negotiate a little bit, which you really can right now. You could probably assume that you're going to be able to get this property in or around that $707,000 median price that we've seen here in the last 6 months. So I think this is a really good example of what that average price buys in the city of Cape Coral. You could probably do the math on this. I mean, if you didn't have the great big water views like that, you're probably going to find a property like this in the same price range, but much, much closer to open water, maybe 10 or so minutes out. But again, I think this is a really, really solid example of what that roughly $710,000 median price buys right now in the city of Cape Coral. So let's kind of see how this stacks up with some of these other areas down here. Okay, so now you have a baseline of what that average or median rather price looks like, that roughly $700,000, $710,000 price point looks like, and what it buys right now in the city of Cape Coral. Let's try to compare that to some of these other areas. We'll start off with Fort Myers. You know, the city of Fort Myers itself is not very large, but there's a broader region of Southwest Florida that has a Fort Myers address, and that's really what we're going to look at. So these are all areas that have Fort Myers addresses, and you know, Gulf access can be considered properties all the way up in Lake Okeechobee. Believe it or not, you can put a boat in Lake Okeechobee and get it all the way out to the Gulf of Mexico. So we're going to strictly be pulling numbers from properties that are west of I-75, if you know where that is. So these are true Gulf access pieces of property, Gulf access homes that you have a legitimate chance of getting to and from the Gulf of America reasonably well. So let's start off by looking at Fort Myers. So there were only 78 Gulf access home sales in the last 6 months in the city of Fort Myers. And again, that kind of comes down to there's just not as much of that type of real estate in a lot of these other areas versus Cape Coral. We've got 498 sales the last 6 months in the city of Cape Coral, only 78 in the town of Fort Myers, in the city of Fort Myers. Price ranges of those 78 sales were $230,000 on the low side, so they were even lower than our $250,000 here in Cape Coral. But the high side was a little bit higher, $4,297,500, $4,297,500 was the highest Gulf access home sale in the last 6 months in the city of Fort Myers. Now that averages out to about a little bit over $1 million. $1.057 million is roughly the average. But again, we're looking mostly at the median price. And the median price for Fort Myers Gulf access homes was just a little bit more than the median price of Cape Coral, $797,500. So that means the average Fort Myers Gulf access home is going to be about 13% or so more than the average Gulf access home in the city of Cape Coral. So let me take that Cape Coral median Gulf access home price, that $707,500, and show you what that buys in Fort Myers, because it buys a little bit less, obviously. Let's take a look at this property right here. All right, so this property is in South Fort Myers, and actually it was pretty difficult to find any properties at all in terms of Gulf access homes under this $750,000 mark. But this one is sort of up one of the little tributaries of the Hendry Creek there in South Fort Myers. It gets out to ESTERO Bay, which is right here behind Fort Myers Beach, and then of course you go under the bridge out to the open Gulf of Mexico. But this property is listed at $749,000, 6478 Plumosa Avenue. It's a little 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom. It does have a den built in 1988, and this is a wood frame home. So most of the homes down here are concrete block. Obviously, concrete block generally stays up with the hurricanes a little better than wood frame, but this one's a little bit older wood frame home on some stilts there. Again, you can see kind of how it gets out to the open water there through those creeks. But this is kind of what you're limited to in this price range for Gulf access homes in Fort Myers. This one has some solar panels on it, a nice metal roof, a blue roof that's metal, and again, elevated, so you've got the non-conforming downstairs that has the garage and things like that. Inside, maybe just a little bit dated, but it's certainly clean and move-in ready. But again, it's just under, or just a little bit over 1,700 square feet. So you kind of compare it to that last one we looked at in Cape Coral, and that one was, I think, 2,300 and change square feet. So a little bit bigger home in Cape Coral, a little bit closer to open water on this one, but it's a smaller kind of almost a creek that you have to kind of go through to get out to that open water. So $433 a square foot. This one's listed at $749,000. It's been on the market for 122 days, so maybe you can get a little bit more off that price at this point. But nevertheless, this kind of proves my point that you know, the homes that you're able to get for this median Cape Coral Gulf access home value of around $707,000, you're going to get much less house in someplace like Fort Myers. So I think this is a pretty good example of what that median Cape Coral price gets you in Fort Myers. Just a little bit less home and a little bit maybe inferior location versus Cape Coral. All right, so I think it's safe to say that your dollar goes a little bit farther in the city of Cape Coral when it comes to Gulf access homes versus the city of Fort Myers. But let's continue going a little bit south to another area of Southwest Florida, and we're going to take a look at the numbers in the Bonita Springs Estero region. That's just south of Fort Myers. It's basically between Fort Myers and Naples. And down there were 73 sales in the last 6 months. So again, not a huge amount of Gulf access property down there. It's a smaller area, but there were 73 Gulf access home sales in the last 6 months. The price ranges on those 73 sales ran from about $275,000 on the low side all the way up to $8.65 million was the highest Gulf access home sale in the last 6 months up there. And that averages out, those 73 sales average out to about $1,494,168, so just a little bit under $1.5 million. But of course, we like to look at the median value versus the average, and the median Gulf access home price, or Gulf access home sale rather, in the Bonita Estero region in the last 6 months was about $1.1 million. So that's a full 55.5% more than the median Gulf access home price in the city of Cape Coral. And again, we're just talking 30 minutes down the road, 30 minutes or so south of Cape Coral is the Bonita Springs Estero region. So let's take that median price of $707,500 for the city of Cape Coral and apply it and see what we can buy down there in that Estero Bonita Springs area just to the south a little bit. Let's take a look at this property right here. All right, so once again, a little bit difficult to find any properties at all under $750,000 in the Bonita Springs Estero area, but I did find this one, and this one actually has some really, really solid Gulf access. It's pretty quick out to open water here. You're right there north of Bonita Beach Road, so you can see how it kind of gets into the bay fairly quickly, and then of course you have to go up through all of the through the islands and things like that to get out to the open Gulf. But nevertheless, this one at 4826 Gary Road in Bonita Springs, it's listed at $730,000. Again, really dynamite Gulf access, but it's a small property. It's only 1,429 square feet and 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, built in 1970. That's in a pretty aggressive flood zone there too, so I'm sure there's some flood insurance issues here. It's probably pretty darn expensive to get flood insurance for this house, but nevertheless, it's been completely remodeled on the inside. They say they did the permitting right, so that's good. But once again, this is a wood frame house as opposed to concrete block. It's got a 1-car garage there, all single story. I mean, the property looks like a nice house, but I'm sure there's some insurance issues there from being a wood frame home, number one, built in 1970, and number two, from being a 1970 built home in the flood zone like that. And these properties, I'm sure this property at some point, probably more than once, had gotten some floodwaters in it, and that may be why it has been recently remodeled. But again, $729,900 is the price on this one. It works out to about $510 per square foot. So really, really solid Gulf access, really quick access out to the bay and to open water there. But once again, you're not getting anywhere near the house that you're getting in Cape Coral for this roughly low $700,000 mark. You're going to have something a little bit smaller, maybe a little bit inferior construction. Maybe it needs a little bit more work if you want to be down in the ESTERO Bonita Springs area versus the city of Cape Coral. So again, a little bit better property for the money in Cape Coral. All right, so we've taken a look at Fort Myers, we've taken a look at the Bonita Springs ESTERO area. Let's finish up and go further south down into the Naples area. Naples, as you might be aware, is a pretty high-end area. There's some areas of Naples that are really comparable to the highest end places that you'll see in something like West Palm Beach or Miami or something like that. So let's take a look at these numbers. There's a few more Gulf access homes down in the city of Naples. There was about 106 in the last 6 months, and the price ranges on those 106 ranged from the low side was $370,000 and the high side was $133,177,500. Over $133 million Gulf access home sale in the city of Naples in the last 6 months, and that's why I say it's comparable. That was obviously down in the Port Royal neighborhood, and one of the really super high-end estates down there in the city of Naples that's really comparable to anything that you can find over there in West Palm Beach. So they can get pretty pricey down in the city of Naples, but those 106 sales average out to over $8.5 million, 8.797407, 8,797,407 is the average. Obviously, you got sales like that $133 million property, that's going to drag up the average. So let's look at the median. And the median's a little bit more tame, although not too much. $5,275,000 is the median Gulf access home sale price in the city of Naples right now, and that represents a 646% higher median home value versus Gulf access homes in the city of Cape Coral. It's almost 6.5 times the amount down there. So there was only 6 sales in that city in the last 6 months that were even under $1 million. But let's see if we can find something out there that's anywhere close to that $707,000 median Gulf access home price in the city of Cape Coral. Let's take a look at this one. So as you can imagine, it's a little bit difficult to find anything in the city of Naples under this $750,000 mark. In fact, there were only 2 properties under $700,000, but they were basically teardowns. But I did find this one right next to the Naples airport. It's up the creek a little bit there, but near the Naples airport you got a little bit of a boat trip to come down here and go around Port Royal out to open water. But overall, it's not terrible Gulf access. Port Royal is actually where that $133 million property was, so you get to see some really high-end homes on your way out. But nevertheless, this home is at 507 14th Street North in Naples. It's a little property, 1,436 square feet. 4 bedrooms though, 4 bedrooms in that little 1,400 square foot house. Must be tiny little bedrooms, but nevertheless, it's built in 1990, 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, 1,436 square feet. Looks like it's been remodeled inside, so it looks like a nice house. They say it's a high elevation, never had any flood problems, so that's nice. Probably still a little bit expensive on the flood insurance just because it is so close to open water there. But once again, this is kind of all on its own over there under $800,000. This is listed at $799,000, so we're a fair amount higher than our median Cape Coral Gulf access home price of $707,500. And once again, you're getting just a lot less home for this price range versus the city of Cape Coral. And again, there was only this is one of maybe a handful that was under 800, and it's the only one that's move-in ready. So whereas you're over in Cape Coral in that 750 or less range, and virtually half of the Gulf access homes on the market right now are under that price range. So your dollar just goes a whole heck of a lot farther than it does in Cape Coral versus in Naples. And there's nothing wrong with Naples. I love Naples. It's a beautiful area out there, but you're gonna pay a pretty substantial premium to have that Naples in your address. So if you're somebody that doesn't care as much about having the prestige of that Naples address, and you'd like something that's you'd like a little more property versus having the prestige of the address in Naples, Cape Coral is just always going to get you more property for the dollar amount. And in many cases, you're not going to be able to find anything for the same prices that you'll be able to find in the city of Cape Coral. So you can get a really, really nice, solid house in Cape Coral for the price that you're going to pay for something really small, a lot older, and maybe a not as great neighborhood or location in the city of Naples. So obviously your dollar goes a little bit farther in Cape Coral than it does these other areas. So I don't know about you, but this was a fun little project for me, and it was actually really interesting. I kind of shocked myself at some of these numbers, but at the very least, I hope it was informative for you. And now you'll know whenever I do say that Cape Coral is by far the best bang for your buck when it comes to Gulf access homes in the state of Florida, you'll know why. It's these numbers right here. The numbers don't lie. And I think the quality of property and the quality of area that you're able to buy for the dollar amount here in the city of Cape Coral, it cannot be matched really anywhere else. There's nowhere else where you can get that combination of a solid quality property and a solid quality location for the dollar amounts that you're able to get these properties for here in the city of Cape Coral. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for being here. Again, if I can do anything for you, if you're moving to the area, or even if you live here now and you're looking to sell a property, I would love to hear about your specific goals as they pertain to real estate here in Southwest Florida, and I would love to help you out with those. So give me a call, shoot me a text, whatever it takes. Contact information's right there, but it's also down in the description of this video. Call, text, or email me anytime. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you in the next video here in just a few days.
Like and subscribe. Just kidding.